Okay. So new year, new you, right? New year, new you. My New Year's resolution is to not eat like I did in the last 11 days because I think I'd be close to 600 pounds if I continued on that trajectory. Just bad, but really good. But I felt really crappy afterwards. I'm not gonna lie. That's what that food will do to you. It will make you feel very, very gross afterwards. But in the moment, man, tastes great. Okay, I don't know why I just got into that little tangent, but what are we doing today? Okay, so we are starting the muscular system today. So we completed the skeletal system, but just because we completed the skeletal system does not mean that you can forget everything, that we learned, because it's not exactly like math, but it's similar to the fact that it kind of builds on top of itself. Not as bad as math, because it's like if you don't know one thing in math, you're screwed forever, right? But with this, we are going to be talking about, terms and things of that nature that we've learned in the last unit. And it is going to kind of overlap and go into the muscular system because they're related, right? Can somebody tell me, and last period, people didn't want to talk. I was like asking questions and it was completely silent. And I didn't realize until I looked down at the chat that I had like all of the answers through chat. And I'm just like, wow, like what is your generation? You can't even talk to each other. Like, anyway, so how many muscles do you guys think is in an adult human body? Now, remember, there are 206 bones in an adult human. So how many muscles? Take a guess. This isn't even for, it doesn't have to be right. Just what do you think? You can unmute yourself. You can say it. You can write it in the chat. How many muscles do you think?
500.
100. Good guess.
No, 500.
500. Okay. Come on, guys. Monday, new year, new you. So I got 100 and I got 500. Very wide range. The correct answer, there are over 600 muscles in the human body. 600. We are starting a new unit. That's kind of like, a clue for yourself. Okay, let me get my notes. Let me get ready for a new unit. Let me take out my notes. Hopefully by now you got your notebook for class. Otherwise, grab a piece of paper in your notebooks, grab that, put the date, start with the muscular system. Today's going to be really important, very similar to the skeletal system when we took notes, and it's a fair game for tests. So the better your notes are, the better it's going to be for tests, for assignments, for class discussion, and things of that nature. So again, now would be a really good time to take out your notes, take out a piece of paper, pen or pencil, and be ready to write some notes down today. It's going to be pretty simple. We're going to go over the different locations of muscles. There are over 600 muscles in the human body. You are not going to be responsible for knowing all 600. So there you go. You're welcome. We are going to learn 15 of the major muscles or muscle groups in our body. 15. So, and that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on today. I am going to share my screen with you right now. And you're going to see this picture here. All right. I know it says text. Those are not the answers. It just makes it faster for me for when I type in the responses. So what I'm going to ask you to do is do not worry about the actual physical location, like having to draw this right now or anything like that, like we did in the skeletal system. Although if we do have time, I might be getting into that over the next few classes, but if not, taking notes and kind of just writing the muscle term and where it is. So for example, this first one right here is pointing to the shoulder. Okay, and there's actually multiple muscles in the shoulder, but all of them together, we're going to group them. It's called the deltoid muscle. So, if I was taking notes, if I were you, I would write deltoid equals or dash shoulder muscle. If you already know what the deltoid is, and maybe you're an athlete, maybe you work out, maybe you're very familiar with the human body, and then you don't have to write it. These are your notes, right? And whatever's going to help you guys remember things, be able to identify these terms, that's what I want you to write. But if you have no idea about muscles, a good idea would be to write shoulder muscle is the deltoid, something like that, right? Also, at any point while I go through this, if you have any questions, if you can just stop me, okay? While I'm sharing my screen, I'm looking down and I cannot see the chat here. So if you are writing a chat or writing a question, I cannot see it. So you might have to unmute yourself and physically ask me the question. Oh my God, I'm asking you to speak. I'm sorry. You know, just to let you guys know, I talked about this last period. Communication is like the most important thing in life. So if any of you guys like ever want a relationship to work, and I'm not just talking a romantic relationship, but you guys are into that now. So let's talk about romantic relationships. If you want them to actually work in your life, you need to be able to communicate. And I'm not talking about texting and yelling at people through text, right? Communicate, listening, talking, expressing your feelings. So I'm saying that because a lot of us and a lot of people in your generation are super scared to talk. And the more practice you get, the better it really is going to be. And I know I'm trying to kind of make a dig, make a little joke at you guys right now, but it is true. All right, this next muscle here, this arrow is pointing to the entire chest. Okay, this is the chest muscle. Those of you who are familiar with muscles, familiar with working out, the pecs, people call it the pecs, right? Got to work out my pecs because that is short for this muscle, and it is the pectoralis major. The pectoralis major is the chest muscle, chest. This next muscle here is pointing to the upper part of the arm, the inside part of the upper arm. So a lot of times people say, flex your muscle, like show me your muscle, right? That's the muscle that you make. So if you make a muscle right now, don't worry, you're not on camera, so you can try it right now. Make a muscle as hard as you can and feel that little bulge, that little ball that pops up. Some of you guys are probably saying, what? I don't feel anything. Well, maybe you need to start working out. I don't know. All right, so this one is the biceps. That's what they're known as, but there's another little word to that, the biceps brachii or brachii. People kind of say that in different ways, tomato, tomato, biceps brachii. Okay. Okay, this next arrow right here, that is pointing to the six-pack abs that we all have, right? We all have our six-pack abs. Some of us like to protect them with layers of fat, but we all have them in some way. You know, I got to laugh and make jokes because I feel like I'm by myself talking to myself. Because once again, guys, here I am. I decided to go to work today. I didn't have to, but I will not be able to get things done with a almost 3-year-old and a 7-month-old. And my almost 3-year-old is potty training right now. That's what we've been doing for the last week and a half. And I can't handle it. It's really hard. Anyway, so the abs, sometimes we call it the abs. It's short for the rectus abdominis. The rectus abdominis. Those are your abs. And that area of the body, the entire area here is called the abdomen. And again, it's all stemming from that same word. Come over this side. This arrow is pointing to the side of the abdomen, okay? Like your side abs. The abs on the side, those are known as the obliques. And working out the obliques actually can help tone, and along with dieting can help with the reduction of the extra skin that some people do not like on the little love handles that sometimes people call them. The obliques, side abs. All right, now as you can see, all these little lines that you see, the strands on the leg, on the top of the thigh here, those are all different muscles, and every single one of them has a different term. But again, we're going to group some of these together, and there's some that we're not even going to worry about because, again, there's over 600 muscles, and we're really only focusing on 15 of the major ones. So it's important for you guys to realize that. Right here, this next one is pointing to the outer part of the thigh, the outer hip area, the outer hip, and it is known as the abductors, outer hip area, the outer thigh, however you want to write that, the outside part of the hip or thigh. abductors. If any of you guys are familiar with the gym, there are machines, and that machine is called the abductor, and the adductor machines that work out those muscles. Because the opposite muscle, if this is the outer part of the hip, outer part of the thigh, then this right here, this arrow, is pointing to the inner part of your thigh. It's the opposite. And those muscles are known as the adductors. And we're going to kind of talk about like what these muscles actually do when you work them out. Like, what do you have to do? How does your body move? In what directions do your body parts move to work out these muscles? We're going to talk about that later, and we're not going to get too crazy into that. If you are really interested in working out, in maybe changing parts of your body for the better, toning or building muscle, you can come talk to me and we can talk more in depth about this, because the more you know about these muscles and what they do and how they work, the faster and the better you will be at, getting to that goal, whatever that goal you have in changing your body in any way that you want. And some of you might be there, you might be starting to think about that. Others, you might be young, you might not even be thinking about that, or, you might start to. So let me know if any of you guys have any questions. I'm here for you to answer those. Okay, this next one. This next one is pointing to all of the muscles on the front of your thigh. So if I was a kid and I was taking notes right now, I would write all of the muscles on the front of the thigh. Some people call it the quads for short, because they are known as the quadriceps. The quadriceps muscles are all the muscles on the front part of your thigh. All of these. I'm going to take a pause here. Are there any questions at all? Or is anyone confused as to where any of those arrows are pointed to, or need me to repeat something or explain something else? And again, remember, I can't see the chat, so you do have to unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay. All right, so moving over here to the back part of the body. So this entire diamond-shaped muscle, so if you watch my arrow, it's this entire diamond-shaped muscle goes all the way across the neck. You see that? And down towards the middle of the back. That's known as the trapezius muscle. So those people that you see that that the muscle and they have like the neck that's like this big, right? That is the trapezius, also known as traps for short. So any movement with the neck, in order for me to move my neck side to side or shrug my shoulders any way, that trapezius muscle has to contract in order for me to be able to do those movements. So if you're doing some type of movement and you're in pain, then that muscle that's allowing you to do that movement might be maybe overstretched. And sometimes as an athlete, if you are an athlete, you might notice you get really sore after working out or after a really long practice. And it could be because you've either overstretched or maybe you didn't stretch enough after your workout and you're just very sore, and that happens. Okay, this arrow right here is pointing to this entire back muscle here. This little huge back muscle. And some people call it the lats for short, because it is known as the latissimus dorsi or dorsi. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Latissimus dorsi is your back muscle. Your back muscle. Now, muscles have opposite friends, okay? Muscles have other muscles, then they work kind of together as opposite pairs. And an example of that is this muscle here on the back part of your upper arm, known as the triceps. That muscle with your biceps brachii, they are opposite muscles. They're opposites. They do the opposite thing. All right. And again, we will talk about that stuff later, but maybe in your notes somewhere, you might want to maybe star and just say like the triceps and the biceps work opposite of each other. right? Or they work in pairs oppositely. Again, might not make sense to you right now, but we will get into it next class. You'll read a little bit more about that. But the same thing here with the abductors and the adductors are also opposites. And again, we will get through that later. This next muscle here, there's no smart, nice term for it. It's your butt, okay, your butt muscle. And people use the term glutes because it comes from this term, the gluteus maximus. Your butt muscle is the gluteus maximus. So we talked about all the muscles in the front of your thigh over here, the quadriceps. Now this next one is all of the muscles on the back of your thigh, known as your hamstrings. And again, your hamstrings and your quadriceps work as opposites too, in many ways. So again, I would maybe star that and write that they kind of work as opposites. Down to our final two. So these last two muscles, right here and right here, are the muscles of the calf. So if I was taking notes, I would write there are two muscles in the calf. Okay. And it's important. I already had students get it wrong last period, and I don't know if they accidentally flipped them and made a mistake, or maybe they weren't listening. I actually had one person write obliques here. Obliques, they wrote it down here because they probably weren't listening, but right here. So the inner one. So those of you who actually, everyone can try this. I mean, no one can see you right now. So if you actually stand up and you go on your tippy toes right now, and or you just point out your toe and you put your hand down on your calf, you can feel a contraction of your muscle kind of popping out a little, that little ball. And many soccer players actually have a very, very strong calf muscle, which is the inner part here. And if you guys thought bone names were crazy, get ready for this one. That muscle is called the gastrocnemius. 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 That is the inner one, and the one that when you point your toes, you can feel a little pop out. That is the gastrocnemius. Okay. This one on the outer part is the soleus. And the soleus and the gastrocnemius are the two muscles found in your calf. So just know that little one, the little muscle that you can feel that kind of pops out on the inner part, that's your gastrocnemius. Don't get that confused. So here it is. Does anyone need me to repeat anything? Or does anybody have any questions? Great. So what we are going to do now is like a little review for yourselves. So the reason why I have you guys write things down, it's not because I'm being mean and I want you guys to do more work. It's because being able to listen and see something. So you're hearing something and you're seeing something, and now you're actually writing something down. It really helps with retention. It really helps for people to retain more information instead of just memorization. And obviously, no, it's not going to work right away. If you do it one time and then forget it, you're not going to automatically know everything, but it really does help. And now you kind of have a really good backbone for kind of, this next unit and notes to kind of bring you through to the next class and the class after that, because this is really going to be like the bones of what we're going to be doing moving forward. I should say not the bones, the muscles, but doesn't really make sense. So I am going right now into your Schoology. I'm going to publish an assignment. Okay. This assignment is called 1-4 assignment number 1 muscle diagram. Before I publish it, I need you guys to listen. So that's why I'm not going to publish it yet. What you're going to do is you're going to open the assignment. It's going to be very similar to the skeletal system. You're going to open up the assignment. You're going to see a picture of the muscle diagram that you just saw. Now, I will let you know right now, some of the arrows are not in the exact same place that you just saw in what we were going through. But there are, all the muscles that we learned are there. So based on your notes, you're going to see the picture of the diagram and all the words on both sides, and you are to drag the correct terms to the correct location. Again, not all the arrows are in the exact spot as what you just saw. Okay, so your job, use the notes that you took, and maybe try not to use the notes and see what you get right, and then look back at your notes. Because the more that you are able to do without looking at your notes and with kind of being able to review on your own without looking at things, the better it's going to be. But again, before submitting it, you can always look back at your notes to make sure it's right. Okay, so it is now published. 1-4 assignment number 1 muscle diagram. So again, you're going to open the assignment and you are going to complete the dragging of the terms to the correct location. When you are finished, you are going to submit it. And after you submit it, you are going to write in the chat that you're done, and you are free to go. You do not need to wait for me to let you know that you have to go, because I will be able to see your submitted assignment as kind of like your exit ticket.